Good morning, everyone. Dr. Stillman and Jim Laird here to talk about the most powerful tool in the world. If you know us well, you might already have a few guesses to what it is. It's kind of a bunch of things all wrapped into a bunch of different buzzwords. But before we jump into it, Jim, I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. How you been?
I'm doing good, man. It's moving day today.
Yeah,
I'm moving east, so I'm looking forward to that.
awesome. Cool. Moving up into
Yeah,
the
and
mountains, right?
it's sort of. I'm moving to near Granada. I'm going to be living halfway up a volcano,
That's
so
cool.
that'll be that'll be interesting. So
Yeah, I bet it
we're
would be.
doing that. We're doing that today. I'm looking forward to it. I love Granada. Um, I think it's a pretty neat place. You've been there. You visited there when you visited here. So, what
Right.
about you? How's the married life? How's you just spoke at a seminar this past weekend?
I spoke at 2 Days of Truth Summit, Joel
Hmm.
Salatin. I'll probably do those webinars sometime for our list for our premium subscribers. But I'll
Hmm.
have to check with them and make sure I can do that because I know that they're selling the recordings of the talks. We had a great time, met
Sure.
some great people. And yeah, if you don't know who Joel Salatin is, go look him up. He's the man. And we had some great other speakers who I was really happy to meet, like Sayer G, who I've been looking forward to meeting for a long time. So we had a
Cool.
great time.
Excellent. Excellent.
So let's jump into it. The most powerful tool in the world. This was tough. Jim and I talked about this before we jumped on, but it's kind of a combination of things. But I think the best word for it is coaching. And what I think a lot of people enter the health and wellness world with as a misconception is this idea that there is a magical solution to their problems that comes in a box, bottle, or a bag, or that's going to be revealed with their labs. And that's not to discount the power of labs and lab testing, but one thing that we see people doing over and over again is they get overextended on their medical care. And we've seen people who've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars at other clinics come to us and say, we've only got this much left. What can you do? And we'll get them sometimes shockingly good results for, frankly, just the cost of coaching with what we do. Because what ends up happening in the holistic integrative medical world is a huge proportion of people lead with what we call shiny objects, which have a place and a role and benefits, things like stem cells and ozone and peptides and hormones, stuff that we do ourselves in the practice for patients. But they don't realize that a lot of the value, a lot of the good that's going to come from working with an integrative, functional medicine clinician, whatever, really does come down to coaching. And there are many different reasons for this. And Jim had other words that he said would be the most powerful tool. Jim, why don't we get into those as aspects of coaching?
Well, it's accountability, really, and part of that is having uh, people to hold you accountable, not only a coach but a group of people. It gets even more powerful when there's a group. Like I had my gym, and I had 150 members that all held each other accountable, and all had similar goals and similar lifestyles. And we're getting to a point in this world where it's very polarizing and on purpose, right?
Yes.
And so having like-minded people where you can come and share your thoughts and your feelings without um, not necessarily that we have to agree on everything, but to be able to have a discussion without judgment or making it personal is very, very important. And just knowing that you can come to a group and share what you're struggling with and share what you're going through, because there's other people that have been through the same thing or worse, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of times with social media, with what's going on in the world today, people get in this little box, even though they're more connected than they've ever been. They withdraw into the phone, and then they just get into this loop where they just can't. They're struggling, and they're medicating themselves with food or whatever else it is, and they just need someone to come by and say, "Hey, look, this is not that complicated. You just need to add a few of these things in. You need to change some of your habits. You need to get outside more. You need to do these simple things." And most people don't do that. They jump right to, whether it's intense exercise or peptides or TRT or whatever it is. And starting with the low hanging fruit and starting where you are And so that's why it's very important to have people in your life that can provide that guidance for you.
Absolutely. And we see people who've often heard a lot of the things they need to do to achieve their goals, but they haven't implemented them. So that accountability piece becomes really important. And like you said, with people who, we've seen over the years at the medical practice and now it's Stillman Wellness with coaching, we just see people, they need that accountability. I need accountability. Jim needs accountability. Everyone needs accountability. And it's just part of human nature to fall off the wagon, to stop doing the things you know you're supposed to do, to not have a little voice in your head that says you really need to go do those things that you know are good for you. This comes up in pretty much every coaching call. People will say, well, what about this for that? And I or Jim will say, well, you remember that we talked about something that you weren't doing that we knew you needed to do, that you know you need to do to address this. And they'd say, yes. We'd say, are you doing it? They'd say, no. So that component is critical. Jim's laughing because he knows exactly what I'm talking about, like 2 weeks ago. And there's nothing wrong with this. This is part of our nature. You have to just accept it. And the more you fight it, the more you say, well, I'm special, I'm smart, I'm self-motivated, I'm self-directed, the more I've found that those people generally tend to fail. And I'm no exception to this. And probably my biggest issue with coaches I've had over the years, and one of my chief criticisms of them, was that they often didn't have the strength or the courage or the insight to just slow me down and say, Leland, you know what you need to do. Just go do it. Stop focusing on shiny objects. Stop staying busy. Focus on the fundamentals. And that's what we help people do with coaching. And that's one of the keys to success in what we do.
Well, and I think a big part of it is a lot of people haven't had somebody actually sit down with them and educate them on their choices and the trade-offs they're making.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times with me, people would come to me with a specific goal, and the activities that they're choosing are not pushing them towards that goal.
Mm-hmm.
Or their goal is completely unrealistic, or they don't even have a goal, right? So a lot of this is guiding people to like, okay, who are you? What do you want? What tools do you have to work with? Okay, you're a monster truck. You're probably not going to win the Indianapolis 500.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And there's nothing wrong with being a monster truck, but you might want to choose your events a little more carefully. If you're an NFL lineman, you're probably not going to win the Boston Marathon. Like, just not going to happen unless you're in like a golf cart or something. So, helping people in that process, right, it is really important, because most people, when I talk to them, they a lot of the activities they're doing doesn't line up with what they actually want.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if you want to make dividends in the stock market, you have to buy dividend stock, so if you're trying to do something, you have to be doing the things that are more than likely to give you that result. And a lot of people, particularly when it comes to fitness, are not doing those things, right?
And we see it all the time with health, with wellness. And it's not just, Jim's talking about movement, exercise. We see it with everything. Daily routines, diets,
crazy diets,
foods, testing, supplementation, biohacks, gadgets, gizmos, sleep routines, sleep gadgets. I mean, just everything can turn into a liability. And so often it's not that people are doing the wrong things.
Right.
And this is something that we talk about all the time in our calls with Q&As and coaching calls. People will ask us things like, well, is this good or bad? And we'll say, well, that depends. What's the goal? Because, let's talk about protein for a minute, right? As an example, people say, well, is eating protein good or bad? Well, it's very clear that if you want to live a really long time, protein calorie restriction is actually part of the game plan for longevity. But if you talk to these longevity researchers who are embracing the low protein diet, they're very physically unimpressive people, because it's just not possible to have a lot of muscle mass if you're on a low protein diet. So if you say, I want to be the world's strongest man and the longest living man, we're going to point out the fact that historically, scientifically, there's a lot of evidence that that is not a compatible, those are not compatible goals. You know, there are a lot of trade-offs. We talk about trade-offs a lot. We talk about the fact that we've even, you know, I think you borrowed this from Bill Hartman, you know, we're trade-off coaches. We teach you what the trade-offs are for the choices that you make and try to help you understand why they are what they are and how to make them more intelligently so you can achieve your goals.
Well, one in particular is if you want to be a workaholic, you better take your sleep seriously, right? Go ahead, burn the candle at both ends. But when it turns 9 o'clock at night, the blue blockers go on, the lights go off, and you go to sleep and you get your 8 to 9 hours. That's going to buy you a lot more forgiveness. But what happens
Absolutely.
is when you're a workaholic and then you let sleep slide, that's when things start going sideways, right? So
Yeah. And it's funny you mention that because I've never compromised on my sleep unless I literally had to for school. Like my surgical rotations in medical school, I had to get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and I was getting home at 8, 9. I wanted to eat something. I lost something like 10 pounds on my surgical rotation. It was awful. And it was because I didn't have time to eat. I didn't have time to sleep. I was not able to regenerate my body. It was a big part of why, I mean, among many other reasons, it was part of why I just loathed surgery and wanted nothing to do with it. And that's, you know, something people need to realize. Like if you're, that's a great example. If somebody came to us and said, well, I want to be a surgeon, but I have a really high metabolic rate and I'm losing weight and I'm depressed and sad because I have to be in the OR all this time, but I need to eat a lot. And this is something that, too, that we talk about a lot. You're all different. And a lot of this defies simplistic categorization in things like genomics. People will come to me all the time with their genetic testing, and it may have some clues, and those clues may have some value, but overwhelmingly, we can determine what's going on with them physically, whether we're coaching them or they're a patient, and what they need to do based on their just report of how they are, how they feel, what happens in their life when they do this or that or the other thing. We know how they're wired. We can figure it out. And we help them understand that so they can then achieve their goals. Because, like I was saying, if you have a really high metabolic rate like I do, if you just are that person who struggles to gain weight or gain muscle mass, and you're having to do a job or you're in a position in life where you can't eat for long periods of time, or you have to be out in the field or in the operating room or somewhere where you don't have access to ready food or a kitchen, you have to find ways around that. You have to find foods you can pack for work that you can eat quickly, that are high calorie, high protein, high whatever it is you need for your mix. And then you've got to find other things. Like, for example, at the time I was doing my surgical rotation, I was living like 45-minute drive from the hospital. In retrospect, that was a mistake. I should have just spent the money to live closer to the hospital so that I dealt with whatever fallout from that happened and just been able to walk to work in 15 or 20 minutes instead of having a 45-minute drive, because that 20 minutes, in 20 minutes, you can eat 500 calories if you're hungry. And that can make a huge difference whether or not you achieve your goals or not.
for sure. And it's interesting in today's modern world, because we have these choices, it's made our life a lot more complicated.
Yes.
75, 100 years ago, you had less options, and
You
less options
yeah.
less options equals more stress,
Mhm.
or less options equals less stress, right? The more options you have, the more stress you're going to be under, because it's like, where should I go? Like, I've got 70 roads to choose. Which one should I go
Mhm.
down? I don't know. Whereas if you only have 2 roads to choose, it makes it a lot easier, right? So a lot of this comes with just modern society, with all these different luxuries and choices that we have. It makes things a lot more complicated. So a lot of times what we want to do is simplify things and make things as simple as possible, so that you don't get overwhelmed and steamroll, so to speak, or steamrolling yourself. I mean, most people are their own worst enemies,
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And that's why it's critical. I mean,
including ourselves, me in
yeah,
particular.
yeah, but it's just, it's funny because I feel like anyone can say that. And the people
Oh, for
who
sure.
don't own that are the ones who are the most in denial about what's really going on. So,
Well, if you don't have some sort of friction in your life, friction in your relationships, there has to be some sort of, everything can't be You would go absolutely insane if everything was hunky-dory, lovey-dovey every single day. Like you'd go insane. You'd go nuts.
I know.
So
Right.
having some friction, having discourse, having these things is a part of being human and being healthy. Having to earn your dopamine instead of just getting it for free, which is what we've essentially been doing here for the last how many years, this free dopamine everywhere
Yeah.
is leading to some serious problems, right? And then the easy
Yeah.
life is leading to even more problems. That's why we have so many people that are going nuts because they've got nothing to worry about. All their needs are met, and so they have nothing to do but be silly.
I know. It's true. And those people,
Nope.
all people, I would say, need some coaching, some accountability, some insight into what's going on with their lives. Because everyone has or should have some health and wellness goals. I mean, this is one of the things that really I think people get turned around on. We often, I think we get it less now than we did before, but we often get pushback, particularly from people who are new to working with us, of the coaching. They say, well, I don't know if I need coaching. And they've got a misconception about what it is. When they hear coaching, they think, you know, their PE teacher, their soccer coach when they were in high school. And they don't realize that that person's role was pretty minimal in terms of helping them understand their life and their context. The average soccer coach is not necessarily some kind of, you know, genius at helping people achieve their health and wellness goals. They've got very specific skill sets to help them win games, right? If you want to win games, you need a coach. You're all playing a game, so to speak, in life. You have different goals, different things you want to achieve. And if you're really serious about achieving those goals, you need coaching because we just see this over and over again. People get completely turned around as to what's going to work for them. They spend all this time and all this money just wasted on things that didn't work and weren't going to get them results. And oftentimes they don't even, there's this saying I like to quote. It's, if you don't know where you're going, no wind is favorable, which means that if you're not sure where you're headed, it doesn't matter where the wind is blowing from. It's not going to help you. So you have to know what your goals are and where you're headed, and then you can come up with a plan. And so many people leave their health and wellness goals essentially to chance by just sort of saying, well, I want to be healthy. I want to be fit. Well, what does that mean? We had an interesting case once, a young woman who came to us and said, well, I want to have a really lean runner's physique, but I also want to be in great shape for bearing children in the next several years. And Jim said to her, well, these are not compatible goals. Fertility
Well,
requires.
on a side note, she was struggling with fertility. She was already very lean, so she wanted to get even leaner, right? She wanted to run ultra marathons. So if you're a female and you're struggling with fertility, and you're already struggling with your fertility, and you want to become an ultra marathoner, that's not a good combination. It's pulling you in the wrong direction. Not to say that you can't do things like that and have children. It's just if you're already struggling with your fertility, going from running a regular marathon to an ultra marathon is not going to help your odds.
Absolutely. It's only going to make things worse. And people often hear that.
She didn't like that. She didn't like that very much. But
yeah, I mean, people often will say to us, well, I don't essentially like your version of reality, but there's so many people out there. We talk about this a lot. There's so many people out there selling people on hype and emotionality, and they just get them all drummed up, shred 20 pounds, clean out.
I'm always going to tell people the truth, regardless if it costs me, because in the end, I know that, I want to be able to sleep at night. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to, I told the story about the girl who was 5'2" that wanted to be a Division I soccer goalie. And, all these coaches were selling her on this vertical jump program. And I was just like, girl, like you're 5'2", like they're going to take the 6'1", 6'2" girl every time. I was honest with her. I'm not going to sell her a vertical jump program and then knowing that there's no way she could possibly get her goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's you know, I personally have a conscience, and I like to sleep at night, and I want to help people become the best version of themselves, right? And the best version of you isn't necessarily that person you see on Instagram, right? And Instagram or social media, that's a big part of the problem I see, is most people don't understand that Instagram, social media, you're only seeing the best part of people's lives. Like, they don't get on there. Well, some people do, but some people will get on there and complain about how terrible their life is. But most people are only showing their best pictures. They're only showing when they're in really good shape. They're only showing this perception of how amazing their life is. They're not showing the other side of things, right? You know, when you have a business, how much work you have to put in when you're building a business, when you're growing a business. They only see success. So people today think that everything's just going to happen nice and easy, right? And that couldn't be the furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
And the same goes for your health too. Like, if you've been sick for 5-10 years and been struggling with things, and you think it's going to change in a week, I mean, you got some you know, all those habits that you stacked, the bad habits that you stacked on each other for years and years and years, are going to take time to get over and time to reprogram. And anytime the body, when you make a change, whether it's good or bad, the body's going to resist. You know, particularly with weight loss, our bodies are wired that when we start losing weight, the body's like, whoa, because it's so hard traditionally to gain weight as a human, that we have these safeguards to keep us from losing weight. So when you start losing weight, the body goes, whoa, something's wrong. What, you know, red alert, what's happening here? And so that could be a positive thing that's happening, but the body doesn't like change. And so you have to be consistent. And the biggest thing I see with people is they don't understand that progress isn't linear. Like, it doesn't matter whether it's business, your relationships, or fitness. It's like this. I mean, it literally is like this. It's up and down. I mean, it can be here, and then it can go straight down and then come back up. It's just, are you going in an upward direction? Or say you're somebody that's towards the tail end of your time on this earth. Are you somebody that's nice and steady here, you know, as opposed to like diving off a cliff, right? So helping people understand that day to day things change is super important as well. Most people think everything's sunshine, rainbows, and gummy bears.
It's really important. We coach, and I think it's so easy to coach people during the highs, and it's so easy to make the highs with quick fixes and shortcuts and gimmicks. You know, like if somebody comes in with brain fog, oh, well, listen, we're just a supplement stack and a prescription of Ritalin away from tip-top mental clarity and focus and productivity. But there's so much more to it than that. There are underlying causes that take time to address. And there's underlying diet and lifestyle concerns that, if left unaddressed, will continue to erode the foundation, so that it's very common for people to come to me, having worked with many practitioners in the past, who never really talked to them about the fundamentals, never talked to them about the sustainability of their diet and lifestyle supplementation program. It was always just, well, take more, or add this, or add that, or subtract this, or whatever. And that's a huge problem. And we see it often right out of the gate in a consult. We'll see their dysfunctional breathing mechanics. We'll hear their tone, their tenor, and their voice. They'll tell us their HRV. We have all these things just right there staring us in the face that other people don't talk to them about, largely because their model is built around the shiny object model. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. There's actually nothing, in some respects, more satisfying than taking someone who's really sick, giving them a great protocol, having them do a couple of extra things on top of that are a little heroic maybe, and then boom, they have a real breakthrough, and they've got 50% of their energy back. But the key then is getting them to not fall off the wagon, because they're apt to make the mistake of thinking, well, I'm back. I can go back to the way I was doing things before, when that's a recipe for going back to where you were. And then the other key is that when people are having the lows, coaching them through and really making sure they understand, yes, you're in a low. Yes, the scale just went up. Yes, your pants are a little bit tighter. Yes, this, yes, that. But you are on a program that's going to get you results if you're consistent with it, based on what we know and have seen countless times for countless people. And that's one thing that's, we'll have people who come in and they say, well, I'm doing everything. What does that mean? We've had so many people who, they're like, well, I'm consistent with the workouts. Okay. When are you doing them? Well, 10 o'clock at night. Oh, really? Going to a gym and working out 10 o'clock at night under fluorescent lighting. And then you're wondering why you're not losing weight. Well, what's keeping you from working out at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 8 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock, noon, whatever? Well, I'm busy. Oh, so you're stressed. What's your HRV? Oh, well, it's better. Well, what does that mean? Well, it's 20. Oh, it was 7 before. No. Let's get the HRV to 50. Let's get the stuff off your plate. Let's get you working out during the day consistently. So many things like this come out in coaching calls, and that's why they're invaluable. And that's the thing, is that people,
we have to get to know people.
Absolutely.
Right? You have to get to know people. And the only way you get to know people is with interaction. Mm-hmm. And that's a big part of the problem with medicine today, whether it's integrative or modern medicine, or, the online part of things. Like with me at my gym, I would see people 2 to 3 times a week. I would get to talk to them. I get to know them as a person. I get to see their body language. Mm-hmm. I can see when they're struggling. And I could tell when they come into the gym, there's something wrong. I need to go talk to them and say, hey, what's going on? How's things going? Oh, I'm okay. And then 5 minutes later, they vomit everything, and they get it out. And that way we can kind of head things off at the pass. And so having people that can provide you with not only guidance, but just a sense of, okay, I'm not insane. I'm not the only person going through this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm not the only person that thinks the world is like going batshit crazy backwards, having some like-minded people so that you don't feel like you've lost your mind. So that's a big part of it as well. And there's nothing better than getting to know people and being able to spend time with them and answer their questions and talk about a lot of the stuff that we can't talk about on here, right? Because it's will get us thrown in YouTube jail or Instagram jail or Twitter. They don't throw you in jail, but who knows?
No, they just ban you. But now they're much more free speech oriented, thanks to Mr. Musk.
Elon. Thank you, Elon.
Yeah. So. But I think that's actually a great segue into what we were here to announce today, which is that we have got some exciting new memberships at actually, before I get into that, let me talk for a moment about something Jim we both sort of alluded to, because we've been working together for now almost 2 years, I think.
Yes, that's correct.
Mm-hmm. And during that time, we've tried lots of different things. We've had many, sometimes heated discussions about what we should do next or how we should change what we're doing. And we've both, I think, arrived. And this is also based on having looked at, we've talked to so many other health and wellness professionals who are doing everything from, $25,000 intensive, residence-based programs to, $10 a month, $5 a month memberships. And, I don't know about you, Jim, but I don't think you went through this process, but I basically looked at all that, kind of burned out on the idea of these high ticket, high intensity coaching programs for many reasons. Number one, I found them exhausting as a provider, practitioner, or coach and educator. And the other thing is that we both agreed on is that you need solutions to your health and wellness that are sustainable. Correct. So many people would, come into the integrative medicine world and spend hundreds or thousands of dollars a month. And that might be sustainable for a short period of time, but it's not sustainable long-term for the vast majority of people. And I started to notice more and more in the functional medicine, integrative medicine world that people were starting to kind of do more and more that was, I'm just going to say, ethically dubious. I have stronger feelings about some of it than all of it, as you can well imagine. But they would do things like get people to just spend unsustainable amounts of money on their wellness, and as if it was necessary. And the truth is, a lot of the value that people get from the integrative functional care that they undertake really comes down to coaching. And on top of that, it's worth knowing upfront what it's going to take to engage in any program for any period of time, because the duration of time is critical. Like, we started Fundamentals of Wellness a little over a year ago, which was our first coaching program that we launched. And it was a year-long program. And part of that was that the idea of getting people results in 12 weeks actually, honestly, engenders a mindset around health and wellness that in and of itself is very dysfunctional. There's nothing wrong with having an intensive experience. We still have those, but people will then fall off the wagon. They'll get into the yo-yo diet space. They'll gain and lose, whether it's weight or control of their sleep or control of their hormones or any element of their health, well-being, and fitness. And I wanted more and more, and I felt obligated more and more as I studied this problem and the economics behind it, to really be upfront with people about, well, here's what it's going to take to achieve your goals, not just in terms of time, lifestyle, diet changes, supplements, but here's what it's going to take in terms of money spent on lab testing, gadgets, gizmos, subscriptions, memberships, programs. A lot of people don't realize that if you jump into the integrative functional wellness space, with rare exceptions, it's going to be thousands of dollars a year for good care. And I've seen people charge over $10,000 for 12 weeks of care. There's people out there charging even more than that. That's actually pretty run of the mill. What I don't think is appropriate is for those practitioners to spell out what's the long-term goal of this intensive program. Like, when we have intensive programs at the medical practice, which we've been talking about a lot recently on our social media, our goal is significant durable progress in 3 to 6 months, but we never just let people jump in without defining expectations of what's likely to happen, because 50 to 90% improvement in 3 to 6 months is a pretty high bar. And I would like to think that we cross it more often than not. But it's also, the sicker someone's been, oftentimes the more time it's going to take. And then it's incumbent upon us, I believe, ethically, to explain to them what long-term their wellness is going to require. And when you look at what integrative and functional medicine entails when it's really good and at a high level, you're looking at, I mean, at least $3, $4, $5, $6,000 a year to do the lab testing, the supplementation that's required for great results, to get the coaching, if it's even offered, and to get the consultative time. Why is that so important to me? So many people want that, but that price tag is not accessible to them. They unfortunately will then sometimes do things like put it on multiple credit cards or take out a care credit card or whatever. And I see that actually making more stress in their life that then makes them sicker. And then on top of that, they don't realize that a lot of the value they could have gotten could have come down to simple diet, lifestyle changes. And it's almost saddening to me when they come into an expensive program with us and we have to sort of walk them through all this basic stuff that if they had just done a simple coaching program with us, we could have shared with them for a much more affordable, sustainable price. So that's why we decided to create memberships at Stillman Wellness, where people can get great coaching, plenty of group coaching time with Jim and I. And we are here today to announce those and explain what they are and explain all of the features and benefits. Jim, thoughts on that before I jump into the features and benefits?
Well, we've changed it to subscriptions, actually.
Yes.
It's a subscription now, so that you can stay in it as long as you want and you can exit at any time. There's no
Right.
limit. And for me, I just want to help people. I want to share my experience of, me in the things that I've been through. I really love helping people. I want to help people be strong, healthy, independent, offer a different perspective. Not that I'm the be all end all of this. I'm certainly not. but I have a perspective based on my own experience that I really enjoy sharing with people. And, Dr. Stillman and I both want to continue to put out more free content. But in order to do that, you have to have a way to support yourself. So what we've done is on the membership side, we basically for $29, $29.99 a month, we set up a membership where you get one live Q&A with us. And basically, we're going to talk a lot about whatever you want to talk about. We're going to talk about a lot of the things that we can't talk about here on YouTube and on, these places as well. So we're going to open it up for that. You get our weekly Thursday webinar. You get all the recordings for that. So when you sign into the membership part, all those webinars are there. So you can go back and watch our Thursdays. You can still watch them live, but you can go get the recordings. The recordings are available to you.
Right.
There's also an opportunity to talk to me for an extra fee if you wish. And then you have access to Dr. Stillman's protocols. You have access to his discounted supplements. So it's a really nice, and I think Dr. Stillman and I both realized we didn't have something, and we get one group Q&A a month with us. And of course, those are recorded and put in the course as well. So you'll have access to those as long as you're a member. So we wanted to offer something that's a little bit of a lower ticket that one, you can get to interact with us, but also you can support us putting out more free content because, this stuff takes time and it costs money to put out there. I mean, I wish it was just, push a button and it all happened on its own. So by having the membership, it supports us also doing these free weekly webinars. And then it allows access with you in a small group. It's behind a paywall in Kajabi. So you're going to be able to ask questions, and we'll be able to give you answers that we can't give here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter. What's really funny? The most views on this live are on Twitter right now for you.
How about that?
If you just hover your arrow over the little eye, it'll tell you a breakdown of where everyone's watching from. So thank you.
That's actually really surprising and interesting.
It is.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, cool. So it's something you said I want to actually reiterate. We both really have a heart to just serve people, which is why we like to create free content. We also find that if you've watched a lot of the free content, when you come in and you're on a coaching call with us, if you're listening to us, or if you're interacting with us in a one-on-one call, say in a medical program, it's so much easier. We're already aligned. You already understand our approach, what we offer, how we think, and we get you better results as a result of that. And we really are on a mission to help as many people as possible be as healthy as possible, because we see the disappearing health of people in the modern world, mostly due to the fact that the real fundamentals of well-being are being increasingly censored. The reality of them is people are being misinformed about because there are strong, powerful vested interests that want people to remain ignorant about what's good for them, because they make money off of people's illness, not off of their wellness. There's a lot of people out there who are getting accustomed to 100% free content. This is a colossal mistake. There's nothing wrong with free content, but you are going to find overwhelmingly that free content always leads to products and services that are then monetized. And the problem we see out there is that a lot of people are only making content that directs people towards making more sales of products. The reality is that we really fundamentally in what we do, we train people to be healthy. We train them to be healthy in a way that is essentially impossible to monetize, directly anyway. And the reason why is that some of my best advice to people is get to know your local farmer, get out in nature. I'm not in a position to get paid by your local farmer for me directing you to them to buy your food from them. Do we have affiliate marketing? Yes. Do we have other financial relationships with products that compensate us for our time or our promotions? Of course we do, because we have to make a living. But one of the things we're going to focus on in our premium webinars that are going to be exclusively for people in the memberships is the kind of information that doesn't get put out publicly because it's damaging to certain vested interests who don't necessarily have your best interests at heart. And this is something I've thought a lot about recently. Most people in the health and wellness space are they're for-profit ventures. And a lot of them, I would say that their integrity becomes compromised and they start putting profits ahead of people. So we're just going to be really straight up and honest with you all about what we see. But we can't do that publicly on platforms like these, because what ends up happening is we get censored. It hurts us in other ways. And we are just not interested in having our reach cut because it's so easy for you guys to just jump into these memberships. So let me walk you guys through these memberships, because there's actually 2 tiers, and I have a little presentation for you all on these. So hopefully that's coming through well. So, all right. So there's 2 tiers of membership, and both tiers in the memberships, which again are subscription based, so it's a monthly recurring fee. They're going to give you these benefits. So you're going to get access to the premium webinars. Those are going to stream live, not to social media, but they're going to be reserved in a private webinar format for people who are members. You're going to get access to discounted supplements. The discount is 20% right now. You're going to get an opportunity for one-to-one coaching. Right now, that's with Jim or with Amy. And you're going to get the opportunity for some nutritional analysis and some personalized supplementation protocols. The 2 tiers are VIP and Optimal Wellness. The VIP membership, you're going to get multiple weekly group coaching calls. 2 coaching calls per month will be with me. And then you'll get access, like I said, to the exclusive video content. And then the Optimal Wellness membership, you will get monthly Q&As or coaching calls with myself and Jim. And you're not going to get the weekly coaching calls that are with Jim. And then you're also going to get access to the video content. And that's at stillmanwellness.com. Jim's going to drop a link in here to the membership subscription pages. Jim, real quick, what's the cost for the VIP membership?
It's $99 a month.
So are those together? So like, do you buy basic and VIP, or does VIP include basic? How did you set it up?
So what happens is you go to the link I just shared. It offers you the $29.99 offer.
Okay.
And then it bumps you up to the VIP, which you have an opportunity to get for $99. And essentially, so people don't get confused, we already have people in the fundamentals of wellness with coaching. What we're doing is we're basically giving you the fundamentals of wellness with coaching at a discounted rate. And so everyone that's watching this is in the fundamentals of wellness with coaching. You don't need to buy these, because we're going to give you these. We're going to add you to these, right? So you don't need to go out and buy these. So basically, you're getting the fundamentals of wellness with coaching, which is basically, essentially, when you upgrade to the $99 a month, you're getting a total of 8 coaching calls in that program. You're getting the additional coaching Q&A from the original membership. That's essentially what you're getting. And plus all the content that we've done over the last year in the fundamentals of wellness. I mean, there's so much content in there, you're probably never going to be able to go through it all on your own. And that's where the coaching calls come in, is we can supercharge and speed up your results, hold you accountable, give you specific advice that attains to you. But that's basically what it comes down to, is you're getting the fundamentals of wellness. We're rebranding it. You're getting it at a slight discount. And then all the people that are already in the fundamentals of wellness, we're going to add you to the membership and to the, so you get that extra coaching call.
Yeah, and my vision with this was essentially, let's put out all the free content we can on stuff that we're not going to get censored for, that will still be really helpful to people and help them understand what we do and how we can serve them. But then on top of that, for us to generate more and more webinars that were behind the paywall, where we could really be open and honest about things that we can't necessarily be open and honest about here. And I really wanted to create webinars that were basically like Dr. Stillman in a box. All the different health and wellness topics I learned about over the years, just helping people understand them so that they could really get great results. So I wanted to show people some of the types of webinars that we've done in these.
Oh, and also I might add, with the membership, $29.99 a month, you also get access to our accountability app, which basically sends you a questionnaire. Did you get outside today? Did you eat a protein at every meal? And then it gives you like a weekly check-in. How's your sleep? How's your stress? All those things. And eventually we'll be adding more content and more features to that as well. So that's something you will access. That gives you lifetime access to that when you sign up for that membership.
Yeah.
So that's another nice feature.
Yeah, so let me show people some of the options or some of the webinars we've already recorded. So there's some great topics in here. So we've done webinars on sleep, rest, and recovery, blood pressure secrets, diet and blood pressure. We go through all kinds of things like blood pressure and mind-body medicine, secrets of iron overload, blood donation, detox secrets. We've got lots more of these planned. We've already done tons of these. So we look forward to sharing with you guys in the membership.
I threw the Brownstein interview in there for you.
It's a great one. Yeah. So, Jim, any closing thoughts? I think to summarize, basic membership, $29.99, one coaching call per month with Jim and I. The VIP is $99.99. You get a weekly coaching call with Jim. You get 2 monthly calls with me. These are Q&A format. They generally run about an hour. That's what we've got allotted for, budgeted for them. And then you get access to future weekly webinars that we're doing, as well as a library of content that we've already built that includes really our most important information and content for people's health and well-being. And all of this is to help you achieve your health and wellness goals with coaching.
You also get an onboarding call with me when you upgrade to the VIP. You get a one-on-one call where I basically go through and help you set everything up and get you going faster. So I can really get to know you on a one-on-one basis. And that really helps me out on the group coaching calls as well. So
it does, yes.
There's a lot of great features.
Yeah, we're excited to see people in these memberships soon.
And we really appreciate your support. So thank you very much for watching. It's great that we have this many people watching. We didn't even announce this, so wonderful.
Right.
And yeah, we're looking forward to serving you and putting out more content, and we appreciate your support.
Yeah. Like, share, comment, subscribe, send this to someone who needs to see it. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. Don't forget to get outside.